After getting myself a good night's rest, I woke up to find that my visitor was actually right. After checking my arms, they had completely healed up. There wasn't any sign that I had ever been injured at all. I was still feeling a bit hungry, but other than that, everything seemed to be right on track. I was feeling great, actually. Good morning. It seems as if you slept well, the voice said in my head. Yeah, I suppose so, I replied, as I began to crawl my way out of bed. As it might pertain to safety, the voice said, I do feel I should note that you don't actually have to speak in order to talk to me. We're communicating through a telepathic connection, the bond that's established between a symbiotic organism and its host. You don't actually need to speak. I can't hear all your thoughts, but if you direct them at me, then I can hear them clearly. Basically, the intention for me to hear your thoughts allows me to. Otherwise, they stay fairly private. I can sense your emotions, but I can't actually perceive what you're thinking, unless you want me to. It's a way that we allow privacy between each other. One's private thoughts should remain so. It's simply part of trust. Okay, I replied, so rather than speaking out loud, I can just think at you, and you'll hear it. Well, that's good to know. It means I can have private conversations with you, even if other people are around. Which is a good thing, considering talking to yourself isn't really a good sign when it comes to humans. I don't know if insanity is a thing where you come from, but here, that is 100% a real thing. I assure you, disorders of the mind were something that we had to worry about in our original home as well, though we had found very effective treatments for it, ways to cure the mind of ailment. Our partner race was very developed. They were much different than you in many ways. For example, they were nearly 3 times your size. But they also had many things in common with humanity. For example, just like human beings, they built cities and towns, lived in societies. It's one of the reasons that when we first got here, we expected you to be much more like them than you actually were. Because of the things that you have in common, we knew there were other races out amongst the stars, but we didn't really have that much communication with them. Our partner race was fairly solitary and kept to themselves. Well, it's nice to know that somebody can mind their own business, I replied. Regardless, today is the day that I get to go home, finally. Luckily, my dad brought some more of my clothes by from my apartment, I said, beginning to open the bag and shuffle my way through, putting on pants and a shirt. I had the front desk attendant give Vicky a call. She should be here to pick us up any time. So, is this Vicky nice? She asks. Yeah, she's pretty nice. A little bit forward, but other than that. And when I say forward, I mean she's very direct in the things that she does. She doesn't really play games about anything. She says what she means and means what she says, and has a fair sense of humor. So yeah, she's nice. We'll probably be spending a lot of time with her. So how's it coming on the gifts angle? I asked, still curious about these powers she was talking about. Well, she replied, the healing on your arms is all done. You'll find that you've regained all of your mobility and physical strength. The next levels of the bond have already begun to set in. If you care to test it, you'll find that your physical strength as well as your reflexes have drastically increased from their previous levels. They're still not all the way developed, but you'll find that you've probably increased by a measure of 3-fold. meaning you're 3 times stronger than you were when you didn't have me. Wow, I replied. Like, is that accurate? 3 times? Yes, she replied. I'm very sorry, but that's all you've got thus far. Whoa, whoa, I replied, feeling a little bit overwhelmed by it. You're sorry all I have is 3 times my physical strength? How strong am I supposed to get? Well, based on your physiology, I'm estimating the end result, so long as you maintain your current physical form, will be something in the measure of 10 times your base physical strength. This will of course go up if you're able to begin physical training, which I would advise. You are quite frail. Putting on some more muscle mass would do you good. At the base standard, 10 times amplification is the set norm for any host to a symbiote, meaning whatever your muscle fibers are normally capable of will be amplified by 10. So just like with gaining physical strength normally, the greater the amount of muscle mass you're able to put on, the greater the effects of the amplification. Thus, if you had a normal bundle of human muscle fiber that was able to exert an amount of force capable of lifting 10 pounds, then that muscle fiber enhanced by a symbiote could lift 100 pounds. And if you double the amount of muscle fiber, the effect is doubled as well. Do you understand? Yeah, I replied. That sounds crazy. Like, is it going to be, challenging? Am I going to be able to hold glasses without breaking them? I'd hate to try to open my door and rip it off the hinges. People might find that suspicious. I don't want people thinking I'm juicing. No, that's not something that you're going to have to worry about. While your physical strength does dramatically increase, your control over that strength shouldn't waver at all, meaning you will keep all of your delicate, fine-tuned abilities and dexterity. You will be able to hold things just as gently as you have always been able to. But now you can apply a great deal more force and strength if it's required. You'll also find that your thinking processes have begun to increase, meaning you'll be able to process information more effectively. Think faster, so to speak. Once again, they're still in the beginning stages and haven't reached their pinnacle yet, but they're there nonetheless. I've already begun working on allowing you access to the King's power, but it will still take some time before that step is complete. It is, after all, the most difficult, and there's a great deal that you need to understand about how our powers work before you can utilize them effectively. But as before, eating extra food will help speed up this process. Having access to ample energy will only help me. Your measure of hunger should adjust itself for what's required, meaning if you're exceptionally hungry, it's probably because I need the energy. Because we need the energy, as a team. Oh, one more thing, I said. I'm a bit curious. I can hear your voice. But you also said you had your kid in there, right? So why can't I hear them? Oh, so you noticed. Well, you're not going to be able to hear him. At least not for a good measure of time. It will most likely be months before you can hear him. In fact, he hasn't even hatched yet. Normally, your development wouldn't be this far along if all you had was a hatchling. It's only because I'm here that the development has progressed at this rate. After all, I am a seasoned symbiote, with no less than 2 prior bearers under my belt. There are also some things that you might need to know about how exactly symbiotes work. You see, we develop personalities differently than human beings do. In fact, it is simply a byproduct of symbiosis. When all is said and done, my hatchling will most likely take on your personality, becoming a reflection of his first host.